if you have not heard this before, you're hearing it now. The business side of photography is more important than the photography itself. Your cue to know when to raise your price, because everybody's saying raise your price, is when work is choking you. The easiest way to make a new business is referrals. It's impossible for you to have 100% satisfactory rate for all your clients. Go to Google, search Apple. Apple does not have 5-star, probably like 4.5 or 4. You would see people talking shit about iPhone. Yeah. Oh, this, that. Who am I?
Without much further ado, let me welcome my first guest on Clarity with Mo, Michael from F10 Studio. Welcome here.
Hey, Micheal.
It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
How is it?
Good. I'm excited.
How does it feel to be you, like to be F10?
I don't know.
Let's talk about that.
How does it feel? It's I mean, it feels good. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work, I guess. But it feels good to be, I guess, to be me. From looking at everything from accolades and words and everything that people say about the brand, whether from just someone telling me directly or someone telling someone else and that person telling me and all that stuff. But yeah, it's makes me proud and makes me want to do more, I guess. Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's somebody that doesn't want to talk about himself. He doesn't like blowing trumpet, but I can tell you he has won multiple awards locally, internationally. I mentioned that fact that he's a Nikon Ambassador. You don't get to that place like from doing nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Just take it.
I mean, I guess that's the highest honor that any photographer can think of, and I don't take it for granted. It's
I'm collecting all of the anointing and giving to you guys. So It's going to be a great conversation. Over the next couple of minutes, we're going to break down how he's not in Nigeria. He's not an American, but he has been able to, as a Nigerian, built a profitable business, not just for himself, but one that have actually made other people have a source of livelihood, And then he's been recognized everywhere and to be honored as an ambassador for Nikon. So I don't know whether we have one in Nigeria, but this is the guy. So we'll talk about all it took him for him to build the F10 Studio brand and the things that he learned during that journey of building that stuff, and all the other things he thinks that photographers are not doing right, and that's why they are not being hired the right way or they are not hired by the right people. So that's what the whole conversation of the podcast would be. So get a pen, because I know him. You have to write these ones down. So let's start by, how did it all begin? Like, when did you decide, okay, maybe I should try this photography thing?
Right. So photography was never in the play as of now, like 10 years ago. It was never an option.
No, hold up. So 10 years ago, you never, ever thought you'd be a photographer?
Never, ever.
So someone can start something and get to the pinnacle of it in 10 years. Is that what you're saying?
It's not about, I don't know how they say it, but it's not about how long, but about how much you're able to do in whatever time that you have, really. And that's pretty much what...
Tell me this story. Tell us all about it.
So, what year was that? 2012, I believe. So I used to play professional soccer in Toronto. And at that time, I was trying out for Toronto FC. Okay. If you watch American soccer, it's MLS and all of that stuff. So in the process, I suffered a fracture to my right tibia, pretty much snapping your leg into two. So that was kind of like, I was over 20 at the time. So, and if you haven't made it at that point and you suffer that kind of stuff, you're supposed to be out for about a year.
Yeah.
And it just puts a little bit of a dent into the process. So anyway, that happened to be the end of my big league kind of like football dream. So I got back, started playing back into semi-pro. But in the middle of that, I don't know how this happened, but to be honest, but my mom, shout out to my mom.
Shout out to mom
Shout
for,
out to
for
mom.
betting
She-
F10.
I
The second
remember.
time.
Huh?
She betted you the first time.
Yeah.
Now bet-
Yeah, right. so she bought me my first camera. I remember it was, I won't name it because it's not a,
yeah, because
it was not a Nikon.
bro.
But yeah, she did, and then so I got the camera so I could just take photos of my teammates,
Okay.
travel with them, go to games, because I was pretty much useless at that
At
point.
that
I
point,
couldn't
you
play.
couldn't play.
Right. So, but just to go back a little bit, I remember the only thing that was in my history that had to do with photography was that I was just that guy. When we went out with my friends,
Yeah.
if anybody wanted a good photo with their
They'll,
phone,
they'll come to you.
they'll give it to me. But I never really thought about it as anything, right? Just growing up and all of that stuff. So, but anyway, I started taking photos, and as an athlete, we're very competitive, right? So
Yeah.
everything we do, we always strive to be the best, right? So so I got the camera, started taking photos. I would, people would say comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe in that stuff, to be honest. Personally, I don't, because that was what really took me from 0 to 100
I think-
photography wise.
I think the mindset of an athlete is different.
I agree. Yes,
I would
do.
think so.
I agree. So, anyway, I would take sports photos. A lot of people know me today as a wedding photographer, but I did not start as a wedding photographer. I started as a sports photographer. If you want to check out my work, check out F10 Sports. You would see that.
There's a lesson in that. That's the
Right.
first lesson first.
So, I started there. I had a network of people in both athletes, clubs, coaches, and all of that stuff. So, eventually I got hired by the league that I played for. Then, became an official photographer. Then, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, my photos got me to the point where I started shooting for sport agencies covering professional sports. At some point, I got hired as the official photographer for the International Tennis Federation to cover the Davis Cup in
That's
Toronto at some point.
massive.
So anyway, that happened, and then that led into one of these athletes reaching out for me to do a portrait, right? A family photo, and then eventually I got the first person asked me to do the wedding, right? And at that point, I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it, right? I didn't know what I was getting myself into, not
Yeah.
even knowing that today I would be like, wedding would be my main thing. So then, I would always approach everything with all, like I was playing a game,
Yeah.
like I don't want
That mentality, you can't lose.
I can't lose, right? I can't get beat 1v1,
Yeah.
I get a 1v1 to score, I have to score.
You have
That
to
kind of
score.
stuff. So
Yeah.
that's my head, really. So so I pretty much did what I needed to do to get a good shot, and over time my photos got better. Oh, I was talking about comparison is the tip of joy. So
Yeah.
what I would do then was I would look at the top sport photographer, Albelo, Davis, Ramos, all those big guys that shoot for Getty.
Yeah.
I would just look at their photos and I would be like, okay, this is mine, this is theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not there. Funniest story. My first Toronto FC game,
Yeah.
and this is a lesson for photographers that document moments.
Yeah.
I remember Toronto scored a goal, and I had the camera in my hand, but I was shouting.
You were celebrating.
I was celebrating, right? So, and then I submitted my photos, but my photos never got used. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I got some good action photos, but the story is not the action photos. The story is this person scored the goal. This is them celebrating the goal.
Those moments
Those
that
are
leads up
the-
after
Those
the
are
goal.
the moments that get on the cover of the papers and stuff like that. It wasn't until a little bit later that I realized that I was just participating in the moment instead of
So good.
documenting the moment.
So your job as a photographer is
Yes,
not to participate in the moment,
but to document the moment, right? So,
Damn it.
but when I got that was what changed the game for me, like sport photography wise, and then eventually wedding.
Yeah.
Right. So, and everything just went off from there. Short weddings, and here's one thing: if you're a wedding photographer and you're struggling with moments and you feel like, oh, before I catch the moment is gone, go shoot some sports. Because with sports, obviously you can't interact with the subject because
Yeah,
they're
far away from you.
but at the same time, you're always, looking, trying to anticipate, because anticipation is the best way to capture a moment, because a moment is not something that it's going to happen.
Yes.
If you cannot anticipate that moment happening, then there's no way you're going to catch it, right? And the funny thing is that weddings are very easy to shoot because you know what's going to happen, but I don't know why, for some reason, compared to sports, you don't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know what happened in sports.
In sports, you don't know if he's going to give that pass. You don't know if the goal is going to save the ball, he's going to score the goal, he's going to run that way or this way, right? Know. But with the wedding, it's a little bit easier. But if you're struggling with moments, go shoot some sports, and then you realize how shit you are as a photographer. But the moment you start getting those dope photos from shooting sports, it gets easier, right? So anyway. Story just went from there. Shot with wedding, next thing 5 weddings, 10, 15, 20, up until now, hundreds of weddings, and
across different continents.
Across almost all the continents.
Brilliant.
And, yeah.
Just from, I think one of the lessons I pick from that is you might be in a place that you think one dream is finished.
Yes.
But it might actually lead you up to something that you never thought would happen.
Yeah. And I like to see it this way. Think about where you are now, and you will realize that a lot of the bad moments in your life, when you look back at those moments, it felt like it was the end of the world, and you would always feel like, what else can happen after this? What good can come out of this? And then if it's bad, it's not the end. That's how I like to think about it. If you're in a bad spot right now with anything, maybe you're not booking clients or whatever it is, the moment you give up, that's the end. But as long as you keep going or whatever it is, then it's not the end, because there's something in front that is good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have to cut that clip. That's so dope. Now I'm talking about getting hired by clients.
Yeah.
I think there are things that people should do, photographers should do, to put themselves in the best position to be hired.
Yeah.
So from your experience, what do you think those things are? And why are those things important?
Right. So before I get into what those things are, disclaimer, what works for me does not work for anybody else, right? So everybody else would have different stories, and I'm talking from my own experience, my own perspective, what worked for me and all of that stuff. So please don't come for me if I say.
But then,
yeah,
there is a percentage of what you would say that might work for each.
100%. I'm still going to say what I want to say anyway, but I just want to put that disclaimer out there. So the first thing is this: do not confuse your clients. I'll expand,
please.
When we start photography, most of us, we like to shoot everything because we're just happy with the camera in our hands, right?
Yeah.
If you shoot sports, weddings, portraits, newborn, event, all of that stuff, that's fine. But the moment you put all of that stuff in one page, you're not doing yourself any favor. Because if I'm a bride and I'm looking for a wedding photographer, I don't want to see a baby on your page. I don't want to see an athlete on your page.
Facts.
Right? So you want to clarity. You have to be clear with your message, and you have to make your clients come to you and feel like this is the expert. This is who I'm looking for. Or don't confuse your clients. That's number one, right?
Yes.
That's number one. Number two for me is that you have to have a process.
Okay.
And you have to, that process pretty much needs to take the client from A to B to C to D up onto the end of the entire process. And the process starts from them reaching out.
Yeah.
Right. They reach out. They need to be able to get to the point where they either book a consult, get your pricing, have a conversation, to booking, to getting the images, to whatever it is, right? So it has to be a seamless process, not a process that's confusing. Or I've seen some photographers and I go on their page and there's no website, there's no phone number. All is, if the only way you're getting booked is by your DM.
By DMs.
You know, some people would not
and
even.
some clients will never send you DMs.
Yeah, some will.
And
Some will, but most people that are serious and people that have that have higher end events would not reach out.
So say that again.
Yeah.
So the high-end event people might not send you a DM.
Will not. Because they would most likely call you, send you an email, or fill out the form on your inquiry.
On your
From my experience, most of the higher-end people would not DM me. They wouldn't even call. They would go to my website, read. They'll just go around. Like, they're not even, they need to be sure. Higher-end people would not, they want to know that, yes, because before someone reaches out to you, they want to be sure that this guy can do the job. And those guys would not judge you based on 5-6 images from a wedding that you're posting. They'll go on your website. They'll see your portfolio from different weddings.
Yeah.
They would even want to see a full gallery. Right? So if you can,
a clear idea of
to get a style from the beginning,
Yeah.
they don't want to just see portrait, which is what
most of us post,
including myself. I'm guilty of that, but on my website, it's
different.
It's different.
Yeah.
They want to read about you. They want to see different things before they're like, okay, this guy is good or whatever it is. I like what I see. Then they reach out. Right.
So that brings me to, I'm not cutting it short, but that means what you're saying now is that if you're looking to hire high-end clients, where you place or position your portfolio matters.
100%, yeah.
So depending on the clients you're seeking,
you
should know where to put your stuff at.
Yes, but let's not focus too much on high-end clients because it's not just about high-end clients.
Okay.
It's just clients. Let's just say clients, right? But maybe I should say quality clients. Not to be offensive to anybody, but
it's the truth that there are some people that are high-end and there's some people that are not.
Yeah.
So we are not doing them a disservice by saying using the words. It's just how we would make it clear enough for the photographers that
So processes, right? So I talked a little bit about that. I can't go into too much
details
just because of time, but process is part of it, and the experience that you give is also a huge part of it. From it being easy to reach out to you. When people reach out to you, do you take 2 days to respond, or you take a couple hours? Right? Because and then it's 2025 now, right?
Yes, 2025.
2025. Everybody wants it now, right? So when they're reaching out to you, they're reaching out to other people as well. So the quicker you respond, the better chance you have to get booked and stuff like that. So I can talk about this for the entire day, but I think those two are like very basic stuff that if you have that nailed down, which is being clear with what you do, have different pages for different stuff. But I do have 6-7 pages for different reasons. So if someone reaches out to me for an event, I'll send them F10 events. If someone reaches out for studio portraits, F10 portraits, wedding, F10 studio, and stuff like that, right? So and then secondly, process, make it easy for people to find you, to reach out to you, including how you respond quickly and all of that stuff.
That's a whole lot of things, and I think when we are starting out, most of the time, we don't pay attention to those things. We only look at, is my photograph good?
Right.
Am I doing the retouching well?
Right.
Did I buy somebody's color grading presets and all the likes? But we forget about that. Whatever we are doing, if it's not easy or easier for the other person, which is the client in this case, to assess it, we are just wasting our time.
100%,
That's brilliant. Okay, so I was saying, so those are the things that most people don't do, right?
Yeah.
That you think that the basic
I
things
see it a lot,
people don't do to make it easier for clients to assess them and maybe consider booking them.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the things you think they do and they think that's what will actually help them get clients? Lack of knowledge is like this. If you think you're doing the right thing and you are consistently doing the wrong thing and you're complaining, but they say consistency, but I'm doing it, but you're not getting the results because you're not concentrating on the right things. So what are those things that you think people do consistently that are not getting them the results?
Well, the way I'll put it is this. I'll say this, what I'm about to say now is something that people do consistently, which is the right thing to do, but they place too much importance into it, which
Okay.
is making good photos. It's much more than good photos should be. We should not be talking about good photos.
Because it should be
Because
standard.
it should be standard. You're a photographer.
You
That's
should,
what people are
you
paying
should
for.
show up
You
standard.
should show up. Yes, that's standard. So we should not be talking about, oh, my photos are the best. I'm the best photographer. Yeah, that's subjective, right?
Facts.
But the easiest way to make a new business is referrals. And the best way for someone to refer you is to provide them a good experience, right? I see people making amazing photos, but they are not providing the best experience.
So
Really.
when you talk about experience, what do you really mean?
Right.
So for someone that might be in that position and say, okay, I've heard the word experience,
Yeah.
I've heard the word
Yeah.
this. So can you make an explanation?
Yeah, so experience starts from them reaching out. How long does it take you to get back to them? Okay, you've gotten back to them, they've booked you. What happens between when they book to when they show up for the shoot? Are you communicating with the clients appropriately? Are you automating your systems? Again, that's another topic, really.
Yeah.
And then after you shoot, even on the day of the shoot, did you show up early or you showed up late? During the shoot, are you guiding your clients or you are just letting them there and just snapping photos, not directing them and all of that stuff? You're a photographer, and that includes me guiding you through, making you feel comfortable and all of that stuff, right? So then I know after the session, are you providing their images on time and all of that stuff for them to either select or even delivery and all of that stuff? So even after deliveries, are you offering prints? Are you giving them their prints on time and all of that stuff? So those are the things that makes up the entire experience, not just the photos. I've had situations where I've hired someone for some reason, and because of the experience, I didn't even use the product, and it's not because the product was not good, really, but it was just the experience was not that good.
So what you're saying is that sometimes clients will not come back to you, not because the quality of the work was not good, but because the quality of the experience they had was not good.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll also add a disclaimer. I'm talking to myself here.
Yeah.
The truth is this: as a business owner, you're very exposed, and you are dealing with a lot of factors. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've never fucked shit up or I haven't disappointed a client before. In fact, the bigger you get, the more
you
like
get into that,
the more you get, because at some point you're dealing with a lot of clients,
big time.
and
it gets crazy.
If you want to be like an household name or whatever it is, careful what you ask for, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Because but at the end of the day, regardless of what it is, whether you are in that shoe or as a small business or a bigger business, just make sure you're learning from every single. It's impossible for you to have 100% satisfactory rate for all your clients. Go to Google, search Apple. Apple does not have 5-star, probably like 4.5 or 4. You would see people talking shit about iPhone. Oh, this, that. Who am I? Right? But the most important thing is that I'm learning from the process. I'm learning from every single mistake that I'm making, and just trying to fix stuff as much as possible, really. So
that's brilliant. I think that actually helps me think about the whole thing that, okay, if I have a great product, my photography, which I should have,
standard,
barest minimum.
Yes.
If I don't have that, I shouldn't even be here.
Yes.
The next thing I should think about is being clear,
right,
on the things, how I put it out.
Yes.
Then I need to think about the process.
Yes.
How easy it is for people to find me.
Yes.
Then I need to think about the next one, which is the experience.
Experience, yes.
I told you guys, it's going to be a masterclass. So, when you get in between, when the things get really busy and you are stuck with not delivering or having a bit of issues, how do you manage that situation with clients so that even when they might not have gotten the 100% that they thought they would get, but they don't go all out. Because a couple of days ago on Twitter, a bride came out and dropped, what do you call that thing? Receipt from a photographer they hired for their
Was it me?
wedding. No, it wasn't you. If you go through the conversation, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, even as a photographer, I knew this. You can't come back from this.
Right.
And that's not the bad part. The bad part was the clients posted it.
Right.
Someone else that was supposed to get married, that her event planner booked the guy, saw the tweet and quoted it, that she had screenshotted all of it, sent to her event planner and tell her,
I don't want this.
because of this, I am not booking you. Now the event planner on their own side, I'm like, have you seen this other guy? Have you seen what this guy did? So now it's not just one unsatisfied client, which you talk about that management part, would have solved before it got to that point where it's now like everybody's trying to blacklist you kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you get to manage those situations before it gets out of hand like that? Because that was brutal. I cannot even lie.
I mean, okay, I think this is probably the best time for me to be talking about this because 2024 was a ridiculous year for us, and because of that, we didn't see whatever happened coming, and we did fall behind on some deliverables and stuff like that. But one thing that we tried to do was to be upfront with our clients. One thing that would not happen is if your deliverables are not, upfront or they're not coming as soon as they would, you reach out and they will just ghost you. We're not going to do that. We're just going to let you know what it is and all of that stuff, right? So the best way for you to do is to just handle this head on. I had a lot of calls with people just because, you can't shy away from that stuff, really, because at the end of the day, you have to see it from their own perspective.
Yeah.
They got married, they're waiting for their stuff, they trusted you with their stuff and all of that stuff. So these things happen at the end of the day. I think I'm hoping, I haven't seen this stuff, but I would imagine that the couple did not just right away just post that stuff.
No.
Some things would have happened in between that maybe that aggravated them to
there are
do
lots
that.
of screenshots from WhatsApp communication,
Right. Yeah.
and all of that.
So,
all of that.
at the end of the day, we don't exist without these people, right?
True.
So that's the most important thing that we need to understand. The challenges that we have to face, even car manufacturing companies, they face a lot of recalls and all of that stuff. So, it's just the reality of stuff, right? Sometimes you plan for everything to go really well and it just doesn't, but you have to take responsibility. That's number one. You have to take responsibility for it and, face it up front, communicate with the clients. And one thing that we're doing, is those people that are affected from our point of view is, provide some form of compensation, and just make sure that they're happy at the end of the day, because without these guys, we don't exist, really.
Fact.
So deal with it head on, and the next step is learn from it and put things into play that will prevent that stuff from happening again, really.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Because most people would really not take it that bad if you really communicate.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah, from my experience, yes, I agree.
That's good. So let's move to the point where, it's a new year. Some people are moving into new cities.
Right.
And maybe some people in Nigeria will japa. Some other people are just moving cities in the country where they are in. So what are the things you did as someone who left Nigeria, went to Canada, and now has built a world-class photography business?
Right.
So what are the things you could tell the person who is actually moving to a new city in 2025?
Well, to be fair, I was not a photographer when I left Nigeria. So I started in Toronto. So I don't have the experience of having something somewhere, then moving to somewhere else, right? But I would just but I'll just touch on starting out and stuff. So if you don't get anything from this, get this. if you're starting out and you're trying to get to somewhere bigger than you can imagine, I think the only advice I have for you is to get a mentor. Only advice. And here's why I say that. It's what's responsible for my own growth. And I have friends that swear by that. Jide Kola is one of them. There's no way we are what we are without people that we stood on their shoulders, right? So I think that's one advice that I would give to anybody. But if you've had a growing business somewhere and you're trying to move to a new city, I don't have personal experience, but I would imagine that one of the things that you can do is again, lean on people that are already established there. Not from a selfish perspective, because I have stories for days.
A lot of people do that.
A lot of and this is not to be proud or anything like that. I'm honored anytime anybody reaches out to me and say, "Hey, I just moved to Toronto. I would love to be a part of your team," or whatever it is. So anyway, I've had a bunch of people reach out, and while I cannot give everybody everything that they want, because I have my team that I have to take care of in the first place. But I've had experiences where people come here selfish just for their own gain, even to the point of doing ridiculous stuff for their own gain, that if I say I don't want to, I'm probably not going to get into it, at least for now, but unless another question comes that warrants that. But don't be selfish, think long term, really. So because if you play the short term game, you might come to a shoot with me or anybody, get some images, post it and all that. So posting images is not going to get you clients. It's not. But just reach out to people that are established around the area to show you around and stuff like that. Trust me, no matter how big a photographer is, they are human.
First and foremost. So it's nothing too scary to say, he's not going to respond. I think I've responded to everybody. I have not asked anybody, come, but I've responded to at least everybody that I know. If I have not responded to you, you can reach out. Just maybe I didn't see it, but reach out. Then there are things you can do, like doing a lot of work that you want to sell or what you want to be hired for, planning them yourself. If you're into weddings, you can do people do style shoots. If you're into portraiture, that's even easier. Start shooting friends, family, models, and all of that stuff to get work. Build relationships with planners, with other vendors. I was coming to that, but
right,
go ahead.
Other vendors and all of that stuff. It's and then, to be honest, it's not guaranteeing you that you're going to book, but it's what you can do. What you cannot do is just fold your hands and just hope for business, right? It's not going to work, right? So, but those are some of the things that really comes to mind right now. Yeah,
that's great. So, do the things you can control.
Yes,
which was all of those things you mentioned are things that are under your control.
Yeah,
but whatever happens after that
happens. Yeah,
let it happen.
Just keep going. Don't give up. Like I said earlier, if you give up, that's the end.
That's good.
Yeah.
So that brings me to this part of what do you look at when you're, because I know for someone like you, a lot of people want to be second shooters. A lot of people want to be light assistants. A lot of people want to shoot with you. Mm-hmm. Maybe not join the team really, but just be a part of the thing you do. Yeah. So when you're trying to hire photographers for second shooting roles, light assistant roles, what are the things that you look forward to so that people would learn from here? Yeah. And when they are also approaching other top photographers to be like second shooters, they'll be able to position themselves.
Yeah, before I say what I look for, what I don't like is when it comes from a selfish. A lot of people just want to come here, learn from you, or just come and shoot with you so they can talk to other vendors or other clients and take them from you. I've had it happen, so I'm not just saying this for any reason, but come from a point of, okay, I'm trying to help, because at the end of the day, you're also trying to gain something. So it has to go both ways. So when I used to hire I don't hire second photographers anymore. I have them go through a form, F10 Academy that I just started. It's not public yet. It's still kind of low key that I just only tell like a few people. But when I used to hire second shooters, obviously your portfolio is the first thing
you want to look at.
I did that until I had the worst experience of my life when I hired, till today, that guy had the best portfolio I've ever seen of me trying to hire a second photographer. And at the same time, he had the worst photos at the wedding for me that I've ever seen. So turns out it was all from a style shoot. He didn't do anything. It was just whatever it is. But I didn't mention any name. So it's not me shitting on anybody. But the first thing is portfolio, because he got that guy in the door, right? If you don't have the work to show for it, then you're not doing yourself any good. And if you don't have the portfolio, that's okay. You can still reach out and come from a point of, okay, this is me, I'm starting out, is there any way I can help? Trust me, if you are trying to help someone, it's hard for them to say no, right? Obviously that person knows that you're trying to be a photographer, so he knows, he or she knows that you're looking to learn and all of that stuff. But these people have their people. So if you're coming from a point of, oh, boss, can I come and second shoot for you? I have my second shooter. Why should I leave my second shooter to hire you, right? So come from a point of, you're trying to add value. You're trying to give value to that person. So that, you probably have a better chance. And another thing is, depending on who you are talking to, a lot of us are really busy. We're really busy. We have a lot of people. So if you reach out once, twice, don't give up, really. That's my own thing. Most of the people some of them are on my team right now. Most of them that I've had come around are people that at some point when I see their message, I remember them, that, okay, this guy is kind of persistent. And it's not because I'm forming proud or whatever. It's just that there's no opportunity. At some point, when I see that you're actually serious about this, then I'm like, okay, you know what? One of my, I would say favorites, but one of, shout out to you, Bruno. Bruno is on my team, and I remember the first day he came to a wedding. He had messaged me again for like the 10th time the day before, and it's like, okay, and this is a lesson, because it wasn't like I don't know you, right? So you are the last person. You're not even on my mind, and that's me being honest. It's not So when Bruno has messaged me the night before, I'm like, okay, you know what? We have a wedding tomorrow. Can you come to this, right? So that if he had given up after the first time, maybe he wouldn't have the
opportunity.
And the truth is also that these people that you're reaching out to, they are going to give you so much value. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to like things that you cannot pay for. So. Think about it, that they're actually also adding value to you. So it's not coming from a point of, oh, they're feeling proud or they're feeling important. It's not what it is, right? So, but yeah, so that give Bruno that chance to come to the wedding. And today, Bruno is one of us, right? And it goes both ways. For Bruno and we teach him as much as we can. He also learns, and it's so don't give up, really, and just understand that these people are either busy, they have their team, they have so much going on that you have no idea about, and stop thinking about it from the point of, oh, this guy's so proud, he don't even respond to me, all of that stuff, right? So
that was some eye-opening experience you had there with second shooters, bro. It's crazy. Sorry that happened. But that brings me to another part where you've done a lot of weddings. You guys shoot multiple weddings, double figures weddings in a year. And you have a lot of footages to cover and to store. How do you manage from photographing to copying the cards to then calling the images and storage? How do you manage that?
Good question. It's a lot of data that we're handling, especially because we do photo and video, especially on the video side. So data is, I think, one of the most important things for us, because imagine losing someone's wedding.
No, you don't want to think about it.
God forbid. But so I take that very seriously, and I make sure that our data is backed up in at least 3 places at a time. 2 physical spaces, at least 1 on the cloud as well. So we do upwards of maybe like 50 terabytes a year, thereabout.
That's a lot of data.
Yeah, it's a lot. Maybe like 50 terabytes a year on photo and video. So that's a lot of hard drive space.
A lot of hard drive space.
And all of that stuff. So, but if you're trying to do something right, you have to do it right. So we take that stuff seriously. So we do physical SSDs and in two places.
Okay.
Then we use Dropbox. We're moving away from Dropbox. Used to have this unlimited business plan, but they stopped it. So we are currently in the market for something unlimited and as easy as Dropbox, but we'll figure out that one. So yeah, it's really important that we have those options for physical and cloud space. And funny story is, I should say this to photographers: don't play with your data. Really,
say it again slowly.
Please don't play with your data.
Look at that camera and say,
stop playing with your data. So I had an experience recently where we just shot a wedding in Lagos a few days ago.
Okay.
And
when a photographer says to you,
so, not to shit on anybody, but I actually did tell them what I'm about to say right now. I actually told them in person. So it was time to get the data right. I was like, okay, give me your cards. I'll give it to you tomorrow. That's where problem started. That, I need the card this morning. How? This is the only cards you have? Actually, some of them only have 2 128 gigabyte SD cards. So what happens if you shoot? And then there's I'll talk about approach to shooting weddings another time. But, I was so... Forget about the fact that this was my files that for my wedding and stuff like that. It was just so shocking to me that people would live life on the edge like that, and they will shoot one card per cam, and that's the only one they have. So what happens if you finish that card? You have a shoot tomorrow. Guess what? They are about to format these cards because they have a shoot in the morning. So do people format their cards before they deliver the images when they only have it in one place? It doesn't make sense. So anyway. My point is that cards are so cheap. Unless you're shooting like CF Express, which we do, we still have over 30 of those cards. And I don't think it's a wise thing to do if you're a professional and getting paid. It's not worth losing your business over trying to be cheap and all of that stuff. And yeah, I mean it. Cards are cheap. That's been cheap. Having 128 gigabytes of SD
card
is probably like what, $30 or something like that. It's cheap. It's so cheap that you can afford to get multiple for backup reasons, get hard drives, backup reasons and stuff like that. So it was just an eye opener for me that I just needed to drop that story that if you're a professional and you are getting paid for this. Do not play with your data. It's too important. That's your business right there. If you lose someone's wedding, you're done. Because you're going to be dragged everywhere on social media and nobody wants to lose their data, really. So, yeah.
That's one thing I learned from that conversation is that if you don't take up the business and you say the cards are costly, storage is costly, you're not in business because... No. You don't have any insurance for your business in that case.
Part of business is spending money, really.
Let's talk about that. When you say part of business is spending money, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that you have to invest in your business. And having to, I keep saying that so because I still don't know, I can't wrap my head around having, as a photographer, just two SD cards. But you have to invest in your business before you make money. And it has to be a long-term thing for you, really, if you want to really last in the industry, right? So, and if you're trying to be what do you call it? Penny wise, pounds foolish, right?
That's what it's going.
One day, it's not going to end well, right? It's not going to end well. I've always had this mentality, maybe because I have an IT background and I know the importance of backups and having your data in multiple places. But if nobody has told you this, please have multiple, backups. Make sure that your files are in multiple places at the same time, because anything can happen, really. So especially cloud is, I think cloud storage is cheap at this point. You don't have to keep your data like me forever. I keep my data forever. But
so let's talk about keeping it forever. In your contracts, do you have a time limit where
yes,
you
yes,
keep
yes,
for clients,
yes. There's a limit.
and a penalty that they pay if they want it after that duration?
Yes.
Can you
It's
talk
just
about
it's just to it. I do that to be safe.
Okay.
I would love to keep data forever, but I don't know. I'm spending so much money on data right now, but it's just because I take this too seriously. The contract says that we're not responsible for. You have a year to download your files and stuff like that. After that, we're not liable and all of that stuff. So, but we had a few cases where people come back and say, "Hey, there was one that came recently. Laptop crashed. Can you send us our files?" Then we did. I didn't even charge for it when I should, but at least for now. But eventually I will, because our data is getting ridiculously expensive now, and that's the importance of having prints and albums and stuff like that, really. Because at the end of the day, all these pictures that we're keeping on our phones and our laptop and stuff like that, who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years? Nobody, right? But the best way to preserve your memories is make sure you get an album, print your photos, put on your wall, because I have so many photos on my phone that I haven't seen in years, but those ones that I have hanging somewhere in the house, I always see it, right? So, and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
So, very direct question.
Yes.
How do wedding photographers make money?
People think we are rich.
Are you guys not?
No, we're not.
Because when I think about the gear you guys buy,
yeah,
wedding photographers are the ones with the high-end gear.
When
it comes to what we do.
Sports photographers.
After sports photographers.
Yeah, after sports. Yeah.
You guys are always, what's the new thing because of the kind of work you do. So how do you guys make money? Okay. Can I rephrase?
Yes.
How can you set up your wedding photography business for you to earn or for you to make it profitable?
Oh yeah, it's possible by making good business decisions, and which involves not buying every new gear that's out in the market. You don't need a Z9, do you? Actually,
do you have one?
I have two. Yeah,
he can have two because he's a Nikon Ambassador, right?
But you don't actually. Let me not say that. Maybe that's the wrong way to put it. So, you can have the best of the best. If you actually, you know what? Let me tell you something that I see that happens a lot. People, if you actually spend money on the best of the best, you will not buy as much gear.
That's true.
Because the Z9 is 3 years old now. This Z9, for the next 5-7 years,
it will still be running.
I almost said the wrong word there, but that stuff is built like a tank, right? Yeah. So if you buy like the good stuff, you won't have to change it, really.
True.
So I find that I learned this earlier on, where I was buying, the medium stuff, and then I was like, this new stuff is out, let me do this. But for example, if you buy an 85 1.2 lens, for example, you don't need a 1.2.
I've had mine since like 2017.
Right.
2016.
Yeah. So if you buy that, you're not thinking of anything else, because those stuffs are like, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one way. You don't need the at the end of the day, like, it's about who's holding the camera. It's not about just the camera itself, right? So it's just, I think about this as it's just a tool that we use to get the job done. If you go driving Hamilton's car today, you're still going to drive like rubbish.
Yeah.
Because you don't, it's about the person driving the car, right?
Yeah.
So, so how do we make money?
Yes.
By knowing your cost of doing business. I think that's the number one thing. So if you know your cost of doing your business, meaning, okay, for a wedding shoot, for example, this is what it costs me to shoot a wedding. if you know that number, then you make sure that you're not charging less than that number.
At least that's the first. That's the first part.
That's the first part, right? So you make sure that you're not charging less than that number, right? So, and sometimes when we quote weddings and people say, "Oh, I know someone that does it cheaper," then people don't understand how much it goes into the team that you bring. You're using a light assistant, you're shooting 2 photographers and all of that stuff, right? So just make sure that you know the cost of doing your business. Are you shooting alone? If you have a second, you have a light assistant, you have a general assistant, for whatever reason, just know how much you're spending on those people, and then that's the cost. Now you have to figure out, okay, how much profit do I want to make on each wedding? How many weddings do I want to shoot in a year? And all of that stuff. So, and let your data actually guide you.
Okay. Well, how do you mean?
So,
let's talk. This is a clarity session,
right,
guys.
So, without data, it's very impossible for you to actually understand how your business is doing, right? And it starts this way. As a photographer, you need a CRM that would show you, in 2024, I did X amount of weddings. I made X amount of money. I spent X amount of dollars on different stuff. A CRM pretty much is just shows you everything. You just put everything in there, put all your leads in there. I can tell you how many leads I had in 2024, how many of those leads I booked, how many weddings I shot in a few minutes just by opening up my CRM. So, put all your expenses on there. It's going to reveal a lot, right? So, and that would help you understand if you're making money. Sometimes in our head we're making money, but we're actually not.
That's facts,
right? So, so there's that. So know your cost of doing business, and then figure out how much. It's different for everybody. Me, I want to make millions of dollars. You're okay with whatever it is. So everybody's different. So, I can only tell you that do this and that, but I can't tell you how much you want to make.
Yeah, because you are in different places.
We're in different places. We have different needs and all of that stuff.
And responsibilities.
Right, exactly. So, but just know your data is the first place. Know your data is the first place, and knowing how much it costs you to run your business. The rest would then just take care of itself, I think.
That was brilliant. I think I could end this podcast right now, and you would have just made money from a free masterclass or a free clarity session, as it were, with F10. So I want to ask a very last question.
Yeah.
Right? Very last question. So it's this. 2 advices for someone who is saying, people are not booking me. What's the first advice you give to that person? Because 2 people generally, like the questions are for 2 people. The first person is the person that is not even getting bookings.
Right.
And the other person is the person that is getting bookings, but is not hitting the revenue targets that they wanted. Okay. So let's start with the person that is not even getting bookings at all.
So I'm not going to give 2 advices. I'm not going to count. I'm just going to say what's in my head. If you're not getting any booking, you can't sell a bad product. Unfortunately, you cannot sell a bad product. So you have to look at your work. Is your work good enough for someone to pay for it? Right. So be honest with yourself. Have honest friends and family members
that can look in the eye and tell you.
That can look in the eye and tell you, guy, this is not working, right? So have a good product. I think that's the starting point, really. Non-negotiable. Have a good product. Then secondly, if you're not booking enough, it's either 2 things: the product, which I've talked about, and then your pricing, right? There's also this topic can be very long, but there's also the part where, are you getting leads? Right? How are you getting leads and stuff like that? So, but first, we've talked about product. Is your product good enough? Make sure you have a good product. Secondly, make sure that you are seen. You are showing what you want to be hired for. I've talked about how you should not have a baby photo with a bride, with a car photo. If you love cars, I love sports, but you never see any of my sports work on my wedding page as much as I love
the sports.
Love sports, right? Yeah. So because I don't want to confuse my clients. If you want sports, you are going to find me on my sports. If you want wedding, you're going to find my wedding. You want studio, you're going to find me on my studio page, right? So you're showing the right stuff. That's really important as well. Then there's a part where people focus too much on shooting, but they don't focus on how to get clients, right? So you have to the business, unfortunately, if you have not heard this before, you're hearing it now. The business side of photography is more important than the photography itself, right? You can be the best of Nigerian photographers are dope.
Facts. Shout out to Nigerian photographers.
Like, we are amazing. But guess what?
Might
we
actually
have
be the lowest paid.
Yeah. Yeah. No joke. I'm Nigerian and I have colleagues that are not Nigerians. And I know what it is. Right? So, but anyway, and that's why I said the work itself is not it's the barest minimum, right? So, but now you have to focus. The most important is the business side, and the business side is your sales, your marketing, your branding, and all of that stuff, right? So, if nobody's seeing your work, nobody's going to book you. Unfortunately, if the only people that are seeing your work, your friends are not your clients. Okay, your friends are not your clients. Forget about your friends. They are there to for you to lean on their shoulders when you're getting up. Don't get me wrong, they're a huge part of my story. One of my closest friends has taken me the farthest in this photography, like in terms of flying, like a 20-hour kind of straight flight, something. So I'm not saying forget about your friend. No, but at the same time, your friends are not your clients, because your friends can only take you so far, and then at some point you have to figure out how to cater for people outside of your circle, because you're not trying to just live within your village and stuff like that. So your sales, your marketing, your branding is a huge part of it. And I've said it before, if there's one thing that you take from this podcast is what? Get a mentor. I still have a mentor till today.
I have one.
And I would always... I
have like 3.
I have multiple. Yeah, I have multiple.
For different purposes.
Yeah, I will still always have mentors.
Yes.
I would never get to the point where, I feel like I've arrived. No. So, this business thing is very tricky. This thing that we choose to do is very... Well, we're here already, so we can't run anywhere, right? So, but stop focusing too much on your work itself to sell itself. No, you have to know how to sell. You have to know how to market yourself. If people are not walking to your door, you can't sell to anybody, right? And I'll leave that to you guys to go figure out sales, marketing, and stuff like that. But figure out how to get warm leads, cold leads, and convert those cold to warm to actual bookings and stuff like that. So without those leads, people knocking on your door, nobody's going to pay for it, right?
So you have to do something that would actually bring you visibility for people to see,
and they see, and then they start, okay, this is nice. Then they cannot just make inquiry just like that out of the blue. It's not possible, right? So you have to figure it out. It's different for everybody, but your sales and marketing is more important than your photography.
You've heard.
Yeah. What else am I missing? There was something I wanted to say as well, but I think I forgot. If I remember, I'll come back to it. But yeah,
you guys pray he should remember. So I think it's been a great pleasure talking.
Actually, wait.
Yeah. Now
you said someone that is not booking, right?
Yeah, and
that's the first, and then someone that
is booking, but the clients that are coming and cannot pay.
Yes, I remember what I was about to say. Yes. Okay, so everybody's screaming, raise your price, please. It's cool. It's cool, but if you're not booking, what price are you raising? Does not make sense.
Look at that comment and say it.
If you're not booking at your current price and your work is good, not your work is bad though, your work is good. And that's why I said data is important, right? You need to figure out okay, so far I've done 10 clients, but do you know how much they paid?
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, right? So, and this is me. So, sometimes I can be very I can be too honest, and this is just me being
that's
honest.
this is the honest
Guy,
table. You have to
let
the
me
truth.
tell you something. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of photographers are not being honest. They sell you a lot of bullshit,
I always tell people that
right? So
some of these guys they bobo you.
they bobo you, right? They are claiming this and that. I'm telling
Which
you
is not
right now,
happening.
reality will tell you what it is, right? If you're not booking clients, look at your numbers. I'm not saying be the cheapest person in the room, but at the end of the day, the problem I have with cheap photographers is them not knowing when to level up. If you're trying to make a living for yourself, you're not going to charge the same amount the top photographers are charging if you don't have the clientele, if you don't have the work and all of that stuff. So you have to be realistic with yourself. Look at your numbers. If you don't keep track of those stuff, you will not know where you stand, really. You can't know. So let your data guide you, and then the rest will figure it out. But I'm not saying be the cheapest. I'm not saying if you're charging $1 today, know when to charge $2, and then up until you get to the $10 that the top guys are charging. Nobody started what they're charging today. True. Right? But I beg you, don't stay there. True. Don't stay there. No, your cue to know when to raise your price, because everybody's saying raise your price, is when work is choking you. If work is not choking you, if you're not booking as much, you might be raising your price too early. Might. Again, there's no one way to this street, right? So it's I can talk about different reasons why you're not getting booked, but I hear that raise your price a lot, and it's not always the best. It's not always the best thing to do if you're not booking. If you're booking a lot of clients, raise your price. But if you're not, be realistic and try to figure out, like, okay, is it my work? Is it my sales? Is it my marketing? Am I getting enough leads? If you're not getting enough leads, there's a problem there too, right?
How do you generate leads?
Ooh.
Last one. Very last one. How do you generate leads?
The easiest way to generate leads is to do an amazing work for your current clients, because the easiest lead for you to convert is your warm leads, and those warm leads are the ones that already know about you, or those ones that, like, now, if I want to get something in the team that I assembled for the wedding I just did, shout out to Big H. He was the one that gave me that lead. I did not look at their work. I was just like, Big H, Alpha, please, I need a team. Who should I reach out to? And he directed me to someone, and I just went with that person because I trusted Big H, right? So that's what referrals can do to you. Friends, if I want to buy something and I ask you, I don't need to check reviews because I trust you.
That, yeah.
Right? So if Mayor books me and I do an amazing work for Mayor would market me more than any amount I can pay Facebook or anybody else. Right. So it's not the easiest thing to do to please all the clients, but if you can do it for like 80-90% of your clients, you're going to be fine. That's the easiest ways to generate leads. Then we get to the more difficult ways, which is obviously posting your work on Instagram and hoping someone gets to see it on Explore, hoping people share your work and stuff like that. And then there's the Facebook marketing part where if you're boosting your post on Instagram, you're wasting your time.
And your money.
But there are many resources. You can just Google it. You just need to be able to target the right people, audience. Facebook is probably the best, I think, even more than Google, from my experience. Yeah. You can do Google ads as well, but just make sure it's targeted ads to the right people. And what else? Yeah, you can do all those old methods as well, flyers and stuff like that. Go to like trade shows, wedding shows. Build a relationship with vendors, be a preferred vendor to like a planner, to a venue, to makeup artist and all of that stuff. There's just so many ways, really. But I feel like people don't do the work as much as they should to their business. They're too focused on shooting photography and all of that stuff. There's so many things that we can learn. So if there's one thing that you should work on this year, forget about learning how to do. How many things do you want to learn really in photography? But there's so many things that can bring you much more money,
Yes.
which is how to get your clients, which is your sales, your marketing, and all of that stuff, really. So spend more time on that. Don't stop learning photography techniques and all of that stuff. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is that people spend too much time on
those things,
on those photography things, and
they don't pay attention to
and then they say, I'm not making money, I'm not booking leads. But it's not always the work that gets you those clients.
That's a good way to end it. Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you.
I know we'll do another one.
Absolutely.
Right, but today's edition has been great. For the debut episode, I think it was brilliant to have you.
I think it was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
This was shot with Nikon Z9.
Yeah.
Right? So shout out to people that
shout out to Nikon.
Nikon guys, the Nikon Ambassador says so. So thank you guys for watching. Next episode will drop very soon, but for this one, make sure you go back to the very beginning, watch everything he said, take notes. If you don't take anything out of this, know that if your work is good and you're not making money, the problem is that you're not generating leads. Go and fix that.
Right, 100%.
And if you have that clarity on those things, you come back and tell F10, thank you. Your episode made me money.
Right.
That's my goal for you. I hope it's your goal for you. So what's your last words? Did you say last words?
No, I was just going to say, if you have any questions, you can find me on Instagram.
Oh, I forgot.
On
so
Instagram.
How do we find F10?
Yeah, just Instagram, Twitter at F10 Studio, F10 Studio. Send me a DM. I will respond. I might not respond immediately, but I will eventually get to see it.
So you've heard it. For quicker response, just add clarity to it, so that he knows that you're from this particular episode.
Actually, it's true.
Yes. So thank you for.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
On the thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you guys
same.
get the best out of it too. Bye-bye.